Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. Happy wet Friday to you. My name is Tim Harris. It's 10 o'clock. It's time for 10 with Tim. Y'all good? You doing well? It's been a good week, hasn't it? I've really enjoyed Second Chronicles this week. I've enjoyed the chapter today, although, man, Joash, man, what a disappointment. He starts out as a 7-year-old king, and you think, man, I mean, you got to root for the kid, right? I mean, everybody wants to see a kid succeed. He was 7 when he became king. I'm in chapter 24 today. Second Chronicles chapter 24. Joash is the only living, person who can take the throne of his great grandfather David, and so he becomes king when he's 7 years old. He reigns for 40 years, and I mentioned yesterday the pregnant phrase there at the beginning. It says he did a pretty good job as long as Jehoiada the priest was alive. Whew, and that's an understatement. He does well. Remember, Jehoiada is the priest. His wife was, what was her name? Jehosheba? Am I saying that right? Am I remembering correctly? Jehoiada's wife, Jehosheba, they had rescued a baby Joash, who was an infant, and they had hid him in a bedroom and nurtured him in the temple until he was able to come out and assume the throne. And that, of course, put away the wicked Athaliah, the wicked queen. And so now he's 7 years old, he becomes the king, and he, for a while, seems to be under the influence of Jehoiada, the godly, good priest. And so for that reason, he does well for a while. The story goes along, it's kind of fun. I really kind of enjoyed it. Joash decides to repair and restore the temple because obviously Athaliah, that was not one of her priorities. She raided the temple, she plundered the temple, she neglected the temple because she wasn't worshiping God, she was worshiping, whatever. And so the temple's fallen into neglect and disrepair. Joash decides to repair it, but it turns out they got no money in the building fund, which doesn't make sense because Moses himself had instituted an annual offering that people would give for the upkeep of the tabernacle, or in this case, in the upkeep of the temple. And so Joash asked the Levites, why is there no building fund? Are you guys y'all not putting the building fund envelopes out? Why is there no building fund? And so he tells them, get out there and collect it. Y'all go collect that offering. They don't go. I kind of puzzled over that this morning as I was reading this, just thinking, well, why don't they go? He tells them to go, and it just says they did not act immediately. It didn't say that they don't go. I apologize. I overstated that. It just says they didn't go right away. Now, I don't know about y'all, but in my life growing up, if my daddy said do something and I didn't do it right away, that was the same thing as not doing it. So that's kind of how I read this. They didn't do it right away, and it didn't get done. So technically, they did not do it. Not sure exactly why. So he calls in Jehoiada, who ordinarily Jehoiada is not a guy you can fuss at, but he calls in Jehoiada and is like, what's up with this? Your Levites are lame. They're not going out and collecting the offering. And there's no response. I don't know if Jehoiada is somehow unfaithful in this matter, or if Jehoiada has bigger fish to fry and he's not necessarily chasing down every individual Levite to go collect the offering. Logistically, it's complicated, like to go, throughout the whole land of Judah to everybody's house, knock on everybody's door and ask for money. That can't be a popular or easy job. I kind of understand from a ministerial perspective why the ministers don't want to do that. It's hard to ask for money, especially you show up at their house, so they don't do it. But, what's the old word? Adversity is the mother of invention or something like that. Joash, maybe the only real good thing he does here, Joash invents the offering box. He invents the offering box. And we've had offerings before, but we never had anybody who said, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on Amazon and get one of these little black boxes and put it in the back window of the sanctuary. That's what we did in COVID. Put up an offering box. It's a chest, which I would say in this day and age, it's got to be really heavy, and it is bolted down. An army could not move this thing because it's just a receptacle, for gold, for silver, for things of worth. Remember, there's probably no real actual currency here, so people are having to drop in their gold or silver, anything of worth like that. So anyway, Joash invents the offering box, and it is a smashing success. Everybody likes it. Everybody likes it because everybody can give. It's right there. Everybody can give. It's convenient. And also, there's transparency here. And in this case, after Adaliah and the neglect of the temple, you probably need to restore some trust with the people. And so when they put their gold in this chest, obviously that's where it's gone and that's what it's going to be used for. And so, anyway, it's a wonderful success, and they just get about restoring the temple. They end up having a little bit left over. They can get some new offering plates, and some, got a new piano and carpet. I mean, they added other things to the temple because they had enough money in the treasury after that to make various articles for the temple of the Lord. So whatever that means. Crayons for the kindergarten class, I don't know. The burnt offerings were sacrificed continually in the temple of the Lord during the lifetime of Jehoiada the priest. Again, once more, we're given that all of this went well as long as Jehoiada was alive. And then verse 15, you get the turning point here. Jehoiada lived to a ripe old age, finally dying at 130. But I wish we could have kept him a little bit longer. We needed him a little bit longer. This passage in many ways sort of underlines the importance, the influence of one godly life. Jehoiada is not the king. He's not a prophet. He's a priest. But his influence is amazing. Just a man of integrity, a man of courage, a man with a good wife. Jehoiada is just such an incredible, stabilizing, sanctifying presence in the people of God. And just that, we've had it several times, that statement, man, everything went good as long as he was there. But man, as soon as he is gone, there is a vacuum of leadership. And whenever there's a vacuum, man, you're going to have cockroaches, that come in to try to fill the place. And that's exactly what happens. Verse 17, as soon as Jehoiada's dead, he hadn't even hit the ground yet. And the leaders of Judah come and bow before King Joash. Now, that's kind of a rare phrase in the Chronicles, bow before the king. The chronicler will use that phrase, they bow before the Lord. And I'm not saying you can't bow before a king. It's kind of, I guess, royal protocol. You bow before the king to show respect for his position. But the chronicler doesn't use it that often. And I think you're supposed to read it like, that can't be good. And it's not good. They swoop in. Now, Joash at this point is no longer a 7-year-old kid, but he still seems like it. He seems very naive. He seems like he needs somebody all the time stronger than he is to tell him what to do. As long as Jehoiada was there, he was under Jehoiada's influence. But now, these rats kind of come in and they swoop in with flattery. They bow before the king and they immediately fill that vacuum. They take that place to exert their influence now that Jehoiada is gone. And so that's what happens. Their influence is terrible, and it's actually hard to stomach the dramatic reversal of Joash here. What an empty man! What an empty leader! What a lousy king. To be so vulnerable to influence. Just the first person that comes in and kisses his ring. He'll do anything they say. And so, man, they're worshiping Asherah poles and idols. It's like, what? You just rebuilt the temple. You just invented the offering box, dude. And all of a sudden, he doesn't care anymore. It's just, I don't care what you worship. Worship at any pole. Strip yourself naked and worship in front of any idol. I don't care. He really doesn't care. And so the Spirit of God, after a series of unnamed prophets and preachers who came to say, dude, what are you doing? What are y'all doing? Preaching to the people. But the people won't listen. The Spirit of God comes upon Zechariah. And it's not that Zechariah. This is Zechariah, son of Jehoiada. This is Jehoiada's son. Jehoiada was a good guy. Jehoiada's a guy that died at 130, but we wish he could have lived 130 more years. This is his son. And Zechariah comes and he preaches against Joash, and he preaches against the idolatry. He preaches against the turning away from God. And Joash orders that they stone him. Now, this is breathtaking, for a lot of reasons, but the most important in my mind is just simply, this is the son of Jehoiada. Jehoiada and Jehoshaphat, husband and wife, They rescued Joash when he was a baby. They cared for him. They hid him in the temple. They are the reason he's alive. They are the reason he's the king. I mean, he owes Jehoiada everything. And without even batting an eye, he orders Zechariah killed. Again, Zechariah is the son of Jehoiada. Zechariah's last words, may the Lord see what they're doing and remember it. Zechariah's name means the Lord remembers, so that's good. May the Lord see what they're doing and remember. I read this. It's kind of the opposite of Jesus on the cross, who said, Father, don't keep this against them. Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Like, this isn't very Christ-like, but at this point, I'm on Team Zechariah right here, man. I'm so mad at Joash. I can't believe he did this. So Joash ends. The Lord is determined to bring judgment against him. And so he's killed. The Arameans come in and they end up wounding him. Joash runs and hides in a bedroom. I think that's very interesting. And I don't know if it means anything to you, but Joash begins his story as an infant hiding in a bedroom. And he ends his story as a king hiding in a bedroom. They kill him in his bed, the scripture says. I just find that kind of amazing. Starts in a bedroom, hiding in a bedroom, ends hiding in a bedroom and killed there by Josacar and Jehoshaphat. I love those names. And that's it. Joash dies like everybody else. They do bury him, I believe, in the royal... No. They bury him in the city of David, but not in the royal cemetery. He didn't deserve that. And so his son Amaziah becomes the next king. Amaziah. You're not going to love him either. But we'll read his story on next Monday. Chapter 25, 1 to 28 for Monday. 2 Chronicles chapter 25, verses 1 to 28. I love you guys so much. Have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. If you don't have a church home, Woodburn Baptist Church, 8, 9:30, and 11. This coming Sunday, I'll be preaching, again, verse by verse of the book of Romans. On Sunday, matters of conscience. There are issues, moral issues, about which Scripture gives no clear word, and Christians disagree. What do we do about these things of which we disagree? Moral issues, moral questions that nobody seems to have an answer to. What's up with that? We'll talk about that on Sunday morning in the pulpit. If I don't see you Sunday, I will see you Monday morning right here, 10 o'clock, Lord willing, for 10 with Tim. I love you guys so much. Have a good Friday.